All right, looks like we're live. Good morning, everybody. Chairwoman Chambers is out of the office today, so I'll be chairing the meeting today. We'll start by calling the meeting to order.
The silence.
That's an invocation. Well, all right, Chief's going to run the meeting.
Cool.
Okay, Chief wants to do the moment of silence first. Let's do that. Go ahead, Chief.
Have a moment of silence for our spiritual advisor, Gene Goodsky, today. Too big witch.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Now we'll call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Travis Morrison,
Here.
David Morrison,
Here.
Shane Drift,
Come on. Here.
Peter Boney,
Here.
Kathy Chambers.
Excuse, she's at MIAC meetings today. And Chief had done a prayer earlier before the meeting started, just as it started. Now we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions?
Yes, we have 3 additions to the agenda. They are submitted by Jalen Strong. The first one is a discussion on language classes, Rosetta Stone, and the plan for revitalization. The second item is a contract/agreement for usufructuary interviews. And the third one is contract for workers. Again, the usufructuary rights interviews. And those will be added after Pam Hughes.
Oh, we can hear you. All right. Anything else?
There's nothing else.
Not, I'll call for a motion to approve the agenda with those additions.
Move.
Moved by Pete,
Second.
second by Shane. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent, motion carried. Next, we have approval of the minutes for February 2nd, 2022. Any questions on the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for February 2nd, 2022.
Move.
Moved by Shane,
Second.
Second by Dave. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Silent? Motion is carried. Next, we have introduction of new staff. Anyone? You know? I don't even see anything on the papers for it.
I don't have anything for introduction of new staff.
All right, we will move on. Number 7, the consent agenda. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 items on the consent agenda. One was approved donation request for Amir Jenkins White to attend a close-up trip. Rescind resolution 64-2022 and adopt new resolution 65-2022 to reflect the correct amount for Boys Fort share in the EDA grant application. 3, Wly Consent Decree. And 4, approve resolution 66-2022 to approve USDA reconnectivity grant authorization. Number 5, approve resolution 67-2022 to approve lease cancellation for Korean Alliance. 6, approve GEB hours from 10 to 2 to 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. No benefits. And 7, approve note purchase agreement for 1332 Tibbetts Trail, resolution 68-2022. That is the consent agenda. Call for a motion to approve.
Before we approve it, I'd just like to point out what the WLY consent decree is. Basically, all that happened was that WLY has the one station, but they have AM and FM. And what happened was that they were supposed to upload a file into the FCC system, and it was just basically a simple oversight that the public inspection file for WLY AM was not uploaded in a timely manner. And all of the consent decree is that is to make sure that the stations are developing a habit of filing their files or their upload their files on time. That's all that is. I just want to point that out.
Yes, thank you, Shane. Any other comments on the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve or disapprove.
Move.
Moved by Dave to approve,
Second.
second by Shane. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent, motion is carried. On to number 8. Randy Long, Lance Hill, discussion on GIS implementation. Assuming they're coming on.
Are they in the lobby?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning, Randy.
Not sure if Lance is on board with us or not this morning, but Lance and I are here to discuss with the council the idea of re-implementing the GIS program for Boys Fort. Boys Fort has a tremendous need and could benefit from GIS services nearly every day. You know, from mapping, surveying, telecommunications, transportation, planning and community development, and grants only touch on the capability of this program and the need that Boys Fort has for this program. Currently, right now, Boys Fort has data that exists in two separate locations, one here at the Tribal Council and one specific for the Forestry Department. With this in mind, we've reached out to various GIS professionals to look at consolidating our data into one online hosted platform. This project we're looking at is approximately a 6-month to 1-year project. Lance has recently, or I should say last year, has applied and was successful to the BIA to find funding needed for this project's consolidation. But what we're in need of and are asking from the Tribal Council is to fill a full-time GIS position. The position could train, gather data, and maintain an online system that could better support the needs of the tribal government. The online system we'd like to move into would be quite similar to that of what St. Louis County uses. They use, the system is an online hosted GIS platform that can be found by searching the web under St. Louis County Land Explorer. This would allow any of Boys Fort's programs to utilize GIS services simply by going to just a web address. I think it's really important for the reservation to get back into GIS, and hence we're here trying to advocate to bring the program back. So with that in mind, guys, if you have any questions.
We would be looking, Randy, at a position for that, and then what would be the initial cost, say, for whatever the program and the position?
The position cost itself would be dependent upon the qualifications that the Tribal Council would like to see. In the past, we had a requirement to have a master's degree in GIS, but the availability of an individual to run a program by himself like that, even to find someone with that level of qualifications, is going to be hard. I'd recommending moving forward with the program with a small contract to a GIS engineering firm to help this individual stay up to date. We could easily reach with position expenses, fringe and everything, of about $120,000 a year.
Follow-up question on that then would, my mind went blank there. Can we utilize, right, currently, can we utilize the, say, St. Louis County and Cooch County GIS maps for our reservation, for within the boundaries of the reservation?
We could use some of their data, but it's not going to be accurate enough. The accurate information already exists at the Forestry Department and within IT here in that lake.
Miigwech. Thank you.
Randy, how would we fund this? Is there grant money that we're going after, or
We're
is there
going to
in-house
look for,
dollars that we have, or?
we're going to look for grant money, or we have been looking for grant money, especially since a lot of the ARPA funding is still coming out. Currently, right now, administration does not have this budgeted out. Forestry does not have this budgeted out. So I think to start it, it would have to come from some existing tribal government funding, or we're just going to have to keep on pursuing grants to put this position in place.
The dollars that we used to get that the MCT used to get from the logging that used to be done here on Boys Fort on MCT lands, and those dollars used to go back to MCT. And it was, I can't remember what year that was. Had to be in 2000, early 2000, middle 2000, somewhere in there. But we just kept the money. We told the Chippewa tribe, we had a resolution that we passed at the MCT that kept the dollars within Boys Fort. And I'm sure that no Lance or the DNR director at the time are probably using it to, were they using it to pay positions out there or what? Or is there dollars still coming in from there? Or?
That I'm not sure, Dave, but I know Lance and I are scheduled to get together, discuss some different possibilities for funding sources for this project. And once we can narrow it down, we'll definitely reach back out to the tribal council and keep all of you filled in.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that Leech Lake was supposed to be sharing the leases that they had on Leech Lake with the MCT, but they never did, and we found out about it, and then that's when we decided to keep the dollars that were going to the MCT at the time, and we kept those in house here at Boys Fort, and so they never fought us on that because of what Leech Lake had always done. Because Leech Lake at the time, or it's a lot of dollars that Leech Lake was keeping in-house for their program, and it was dollars that should have been going to the tribe at the time, but like I said, it never happened, and so then we none of the tribes fought us on that. So
if there's no more questions, I'll keep you guys all in loop and move forward on trying to find funding for this position.
I had a quick question. I know we had a GIS position before. How did we fund that one? Didn't we?
That was through administration. I know the past employee worked underneath IT, but there was a lack of funding available at that time. So that once the past employee left for another job, we had to cut its services out.
Okay. I know it's a really important position that we need to move forward on a lot of different other projects. Be nice to have the information.
Yeah, the data is really critical for us moving forward, specifically for grants.
Would this position be able to, besides working within the boundaries of the reservation, would it be able to work within our 54 area to identify like sacred sites out there, like
Sure.
burial grounds out on Lake Captogama or
Yep.
sites
That
up
would
the
be
North
one
Shore?
of the, that would definitely be one of the duties of this position. Is to work with 1854, some of the other tribes like Grand Portage, identify what they have, what we have, and try and pull some of the data together.
I think that, Randy, that we should look at a certain time frame as to when you're going to be looking for grant funding for this position, and if you can't find it, then approach the tribal council to see if they could fit this into next year's budget cycle from the money that we get from Fortune Bay, and put that in, see if we can fit that into the budget, and then that way the position will be there available for the following year, fiscal year.
Yep.
And then from there, continue looking for grants and stuff like that.
Yep. Will do, Shane.
I agree with the other guys there that this is a much needed position, and it would be good to have this person on board to start working with they're talking about 1854 area. They just found that artifact over there that was in the Star Tribune, and they're going to be finding more. More artifacts going to be popping up, and it would be good to have the person on board to work with that.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Thank you, Randy.
Yep. Well, if there's no more questions, thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Randy.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. Next, we have Doris Isham. Living Languages Grant Application and A&E Contract.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So the first resolution you have before you is a resolution approving the submission of a living language grant application. And you should have that in your packets. The amount of money the grant was written for was $86,240. And I should mention to you that indirect cost is an unallowed expense in this grant. And what the grant will pay for is to hire a staff person, a project coordinator that will develop and coordinate a strategic plan that will work towards developing a language revitalization project. The other major thing that this person will do is to locate and digitalize and compile elders speaking the language so that we will have a collection of the elders speaking. They will catalog the collection and make it available for the public for their use. And so the resolution is being written to the Bureau Living Language Program through ARPA funds. No, I'm sorry, it's not ARPA funds. It's a routine grant program that's available every year. Very competitive grant. So the resolution, I'll just read the part that is pertinent to the art. Whereas the RTC finds that the band's submission of a living language grant application for the project outlined in the project narrative is the best interest of the band and its members because culture and language revitalization efforts are central to the culture, identity, and health and welfare of tribal members. Now therefore be it resolved that the RTC hereby approves the band's submission of an application for the Living Language Grant Program, including the project narrative summary, the application, attached hereto as Exhibit 1 and incorporated herein. And be further and finally resolved that the RTC now authorizes the RTC chairwoman, Kathy Chavers, to execute the Living Language Grant Program application on behalf of the Bois Forte Band of Chippewa. And so I'm entertaining questions on the grant application.
I think that this is a unique opportunity for the band, for the tribe. And I hope that we get this grant and that, it's further, when we get further down the road, when the tribal council gets further down the road, is to even expand upon the duties of the person that's going to be basically hired to fulfill the duties of this grant. And also to add, maybe look at incorporating documenting when to gather the medicines and where, from the heart medicines to the swamp teas, stuff like that. We get to make the creams for, like birds and stuff like that. My grandma used to do that stuff. And I think that'd be good to have somebody on board start doing that for the tribe so that when we're no longer here and the younger generation takes over, they'll have that to utilize to say, okay, this is what they did, this is what they documented. And that to ensure that whatever teachings we have left is preserved and passed on for the generations coming up behind us. Well, thank you for all the hard work that you're doing on these language grants. Neil, you betcha.
Yes, thank you, Doris. It's a very good step in the right direction. What we need, like Shane says, we need to have this documentation and stuff written down or recorded, because it's all we're gonna lose it someday.
I think a strategic plan to get the stakeholders in the reservation together and and to try and develop a long-range plan of how we're going to teach this language, because it seems like we've tried many different avenues on how to teach it, and we're kind of spinning our wheels and making a little progress. And but I think the collection of the elders speaking to is important. I was impressed with the one of the webinars that Peyton Coons had done, and the young people that were speaking our language. And I was thinking, man, they are young people and they are learning the language. I mean, they can hold conversations. And it's just too bad that the generation such as mine, yours, we missed out on that. So we need to work to keep it going. Otherwise, we're going to lose it when these, I've counted 6 individuals that speak fluently, elders on the reservation right now. And after they're gone, a lot of our language and our traditions are going to be gone with them. And so it's important to gather that stuff in a collection of videos, recording. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Doris, for what you're doing here, and I just want to echo what the rest of the council has said. We're in the process of losing our fluent elders that speak, and we have to get this going right as soon as possible, and well, it's good that you're going after this grant money, but how soon will we know an answer? It'll be a couple months out, I suppose, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time and effort in putting the package together and the resolution to be presented. So,
I would like to also say thank you for your time and energy putting into this language.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll call for a motion to approve resolution 69-2022, Living Languages Grant Application.
Move.
Moved by Shane,
Second.
second by Pete. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
And the second resolution I have on the agenda is a resolution approving the A&E contract for the Indigenous Communities Grant. And that was for the community health building project. And originally we approved DSGW to do phase 1, and with the intent to utilize them to do phase 2 if the grant was funded. So this resolution is approving phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 is cost is $29,000. That's for the preliminary designs, and then phase 2 would be the actual construction of the community health center if we got funded. That amount would be $197,000 for DSGW to manage the come up and manage the construction project, and just to make sure that things are going properly. And there also is reimbursable costs. That's things that would be reimbursed to DSGW, like printing, mileage, that things of that nature. And for phase 1, it would be a limit of $600, and phase 2 would be a limit of $2,250, which is total, when you total, is $2,850. And so I'm looking for a approval of this contract with DSGW for phase 1 and phase 2, contingent on the receipt of funding.
Okay, any other questions for Doris?
No, I think that it's exciting to see that, that this community building is going to be going through, community health building, the new community health building, I should say, is going through. And good work. It took a lot of work, hard work, and a lot of planning and the meetings that we've had regarding the new building. And I just like to say, good work, good job. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll call for a motion for resolution 70-2022 A&E contract for Indigenous Communities Grant.
Oh,
Moved by Dave,
Second.
second by Shane. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Doris?
Thanks, Doris.
Big Rich.
Next, we have Benny Rowland. You're on mute.
Thank you. After all these years, I still don't get it. So- But I have before you a resolution for to make application to the RAISE DOT NOFO Notice of Funding Opportunity. This used to be called BUILD. It used to be called Tiger. These are very large grants. These are very competitive grants. I did an application last year and was unsuccessful, but I've done a lot more groundwork since then, and we'll have a debriefing from the DOT so I can kind of present a more comprehensive package, perhaps be more competitive for this year's application. This, fingers crossed, this might be my year. There's no, I'm not a quitter, so I'm just going for it again this year. They do not require a match this year. And I'm looking at an $8.2 million grant application for the construction of a transit facility. So it's included in the plan is inside storage for the vehicles, the transit buses, and for the non-emergency medical transportation vans, office space, meeting space, kitchen, driver's lounge, conference rooms, and an additional bus wash and a mechanics bay. With that building, with the pre-approved location out here in Joe Roy's Field, which is what the location was the council picked previously, it would be within conjunction with the current food shelf. And so part of the construction plan would be to have a plaza area built between the two buildings that would incorporate outside meetings. It would incorporate possibly a farmer's market, outside, any kind of meeting area or community gardens in that joined area between the two buildings. Part of the grant is also to bring the water and the sewer extended out to this industrial complex area. That's the original plan for this area. in addition to a community bike walking path from Pine View Road out to and make a loop out here by the food shelf and then back into the village. So it's a very comprehensive design. We have a letter of support from the grade school, from the Netlick School, as they would like to access the baseball fields and everything on this way out here. And so if they had a walking trail, you know, they said that they would use that area more if children didn't have to walk on the road. And so I tried to be as comprehensive as possible to join this area with the village.
That is a very good idea. I like that.
Yes.
Well, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. It's comprehensive projects like this that are basically what the grantor is looking for. They're looking for a way not just to drop money on a building, but how is this building going to be incorporated into the community life?
That sounds like a very nice facility too. You have your own space, your own mechanics bay, your own storage for your vehicles, and you sitting outside all the time.
Well, during that cold snap we had, you know, we can put it into the bus wash so that the engines don't freeze, but it would be nice where they had a permanent place to be inside.
Yeah.
The vehicles that are outside, we have to leave them idling all night in order so the engines don't freeze. So.
Yeah, then with a walking trail all the way out.
Walking bike trail. Yeah, it would be nice just for people and families who want to access the food shelf.
Yep.
So this could be my year, no match.
Hope we get it. Hope we get it.
So,
Yes.
okay, so any questions?
Good job.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, maybe second time's a charm. So I'll just read that portion of the resolution. Whereas the Bois Forte Reservation Tribal Council has previously authorized the position of the Bois Forte Transportation Manager in order to increase access to transportation for members who live or work on the Bois Forte Reservation. And whereas the Transportation Manager has identified a funding opportunity through the Department of Transportation, which does not require any matching funds this fiscal year, that if awarded could fund the construction of a rural tribal transit facility for the band. And whereas the Bois Forte Reservation Tribal Council believes it is in the best interests of the band and its members to pursue to the U.S. Department of Transportation fiscal year 2022 Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, the acronym RAISE, grant to fund the construction of a rural tribal transit facility. So.
All right, well, with that, if no other questions, we'll offer a motion to approve resolution 71-2022, the raise grant application.
Move.
Moved by Shane,
Second.
second by Pete. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Aye. Motion carried. There you go.
Good. So my second item on the agenda today is for a second resolution for a grant, another grant application. This is an annual tribal transit grant, discretionary or competitive grant that's offered every year through the FTA tribal transit funding. So this year we're going to be going for a chunk of buses. We've had more buses towed this winter than in any other previous year. So we about 7 of our buses, and we have 10 in the fleet, have exceeded their state of good repair guidelines or thresholds from the FTA, both mileage and time wise. So we will be making application to replace 6 of those buses through this FTA's Public Transportation on Indian Reservations Grant Notice of Funding Opportunity. This is also an exceptional year in that it doesn't require a match this year only. Usually it's a 10% match. The matching always comes out of my transit budget revenues. Any questions?
What's the life expectancy of our vehicles?
Well, we kind of get hit hard on that because it's usually by mileage. It's usually, I think the guidelines are developed more for an urban setting because they put down like 150,000 miles or 5 years. And the problem with that is, you know, one route to Virginia is like 150 miles. We go, it's another 130, 140 miles to go to Fortune Bay, and we do that 3 times a day. So it adds up. It adds up very, very quickly. So, and that's about the time they, you know, just kind of start breaking down anyways.
So the mileage is high on the vehicles, but the vehicle is actually pretty decent shape still, right?
The vehicles are in really good shape, but you can see where the miles and the time on the road starts to kind of pick away at the state of good repair. I think if once we have a facility and they're stored inside, I think we can extend the life of the vehicle, but right now it's pretty rough.
Yeah, it's tough, and especially in the wintertime when you're running your vehicle for overnight so it don't, you know, that's just extra wear and tear on the motor.
Right. And so right now we've got 7 buses that are more than 5 years old and have extended beyond the 150,000 miles. And we aren't, the tribal transit program doesn't have a scheduled bus replacement. They just don't like automatically show up. Oh, you know, it's the 5th year and here's your new buses. It doesn't work like that. Any buses that we have received have been the result of a grant written by me.
Big Rich.
Okay, so just the part of it here, whereas the Boys Fort Reservation Tribal Council believes that it is in the best interest of the band and its members to pursue the FTA 2022 Public Transportation on Indian Reservations grant to fund the purchase of replacement buses. Therefore, be it resolved that the Boys Fort Reservation Tribal Council hereby authorizes the transportation manager to apply for the 2022 Public Transportation on Indian Reservations grant.
All right, any other questions for her? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 72-2022 FTA grant application.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Pete, second by Dave. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried.
All right, miigwech.
Good work.
Good job,
you.
Denny.
Thank you.
Next, we have Lena Sherman. Minnesota State Parks permit.
Come on. Oh, there we go. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Okay, so what I'm bringing forward today is it's an agreement between the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources and Bois Forte. And what this is for, so I guess kind of like a little backstory. Starting January 1st, all federally recognized tribal members can now access the state parks. And there's 75 state parks in Minnesota that they can access for free at no charge. They just need a permit or like a tribal ID or a CIB. And what this is I was asked by, his name is Jamie. He works for the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. And he reached out to me and asked if we wanted to kind of come up with a game plan to have somebody from Bois Forte who can hand out all of these permits to Bois Forte band members. And so the band members, they can come in office to receive one. They just need to come in and I just need to verify that they're a band member and I can give them a permit, a vehicle permit. So, and all this started happening January 1st. And I think it was on social media too, that they got this out there. So the sales agreement, it's called a sales agreement, but there's actually no money involved. What will happen if this goes through is that Minnesota will send me, or it's basically whoever you guys want to choose to do this, but we've been working with it. They'll send permits and then we'll just hand them out and the band member can attend any one of the state parks and hopefully go explore it. The only thing that it doesn't cover is like camping fees or anything like that.
Okay. Sweet. Any questions?
Yeah, that was my question. Was it overnight camping fees?
Yeah, unfortunately not the camping fees, but it does allow for the entrance of the park.
So you would still be able to pay the camping fee if you wanted
Mhm.
that park, still pay that park fee, but you get free access.
Yep, free access. And this is an annual permit. So at the end of the year, I'll have to do, it's a 1-page report. I just need to verify how many vehicle permits I gave out. And I don't need to know who, Minnesota doesn't need to know who attended or who got them. We just need to know how many were sent out, how many were damaged or anything like that. And then send them back. And then again, they'll send us a new batch for the new year.
So my next question would be is like, say for example, a family, you have 2 cars, 2 vehicles. You're eligible to apply for both vehicles?
Yep. And
Okay.
it's not really even applying. They could just come in and get a permit. And if, like, let's say by chance they can't make it up here, they can also go to any of the open state park offices and bring either an 1854 card, a tribal ID, a CIB, or even have like the 1854 window cling, or just their tribal plates. And that will help them get a free permit.
Good information. Thank you.
One
And
thing
so,
one thing
go
I
ahead.
have to say is, it's good that the state's doing it, but kind of funny because all this time in the 1854 treaty area, when we go to these parks and stuff and have to pay the fee, we're basically paying a fee to access our own 1854 treaty area, which didn't make sense to me. And then if you look at the 1866 treaty area, I don't know if McCarthy State Beach is within that treaty area. So when we used to go down and go have cookouts down there, we were basically paying not to access our own treaty area. Didn't make sense. I just want to point that out there. But that's good that the state's finally doing something about this. Thank you.
Elena, how are we gonna notify the band members that reside off the reservation? Are we gonna put it on the website or how are we gonna handle that so they know?
That they know that they can receive them?
Yeah, I can receive them, or what they can do if they don't have time to come up to the office, and they can go to one of the parks or whatever. So,
Yep. So I can get something out once this kind of goes through. My plan is that after this, and if everything goes all right, I can get this signed by Kathy. And then I'd have to send it to the Minnesota State DNR office. Well, they'll sign their end. I'll get the permit. So I'm actually hoping to get everything ready and rolling by April 1st. And then before that too, I'll also get stuff hopefully in the newspaper and like social media. Another good thing too is band members, they don't need to just come into office. What I would like though is if they would like to request them to be mailed, if they put that request in writing, just so that I can have something, you know, kind of to backtrack where I'm sending these permits to.
okay. Then those are the stickers that you put in the window too, right? Is that what they are?
Yep, I actually have kind of like a, I guess what it would look like. And so it kind of got cut off a little bit, but this is kind of what it would look like. And then there's like months and it has the year. So it's all outlined. That would be kind of what it would look like. And also I did request, and it's not finished yet, but the person I am working with, his name is Jamie McBride. He's actually creating a brochure for me to kind of outline just which parks they can use, any other fees that will be associated with the parks. He'll kind of put all that in a brochure that I can also hand out with the permit.
Yeah, because I know there's a lot of people that Shane was talking about McCarthy Beach, and there's a lot of band members that go there and cook out and like to swim there for a day or and that'd be nice to get those free permits, because if you go get a daily permit, it's active for like 3 days. I think you pay like $18, $20, something like that. And then a yearly fee used to be $25, but I think they went up to $35 now. I'm not sure, but I know that they went up last couple of years, and so that'd be really good for the band members that want to utilize and go to one of the parks for a picnic or for a birthday or whatever for a day. So that'd really be
Right.
nice if we could get that worked out for the band members. Because
Yeah.
I know they're really there was an article there was a news thing on last night on WDIO where they were really wanted to promote Minnesota. We're having people come here to come here for vacation. So yeah, it'd be nice for our band members to have access to all the state parks.
I think on just one last note, regarding the camping fees, myself, I feel that especially if it's in the 1854 treaty area, our band members should have the right to camp there, and the camping fee should be waived. I just want to point that out there. Thank you.
Maybe we could bring that up at our. We have an 1854 meeting next week. Is there's one on next week? Maybe we could cover that a little more with Sonny and let them know what they must know about it, but let them know what Elena told us today about the meeting about free access to the state parks, and maybe that's something we can work on for the 1854 treaty area for band members that want to get a camping or overnight camping or a weekend camping or whatever, and see if they get that waived too. So
I think it's a plus that the state's making great strides since in the last few years of putting our band members and the natives ahead. The college tuition stuff, and they're moving forward in a good way, and I respect that and I appreciate it. Just wanted that throwing out there that I respect their stance and their change.
Yeah, because then the other thing too is where our band members, when they do go to those areas, they're utilizing, the gas stations or the grocery stores or that are in those areas. We're putting dollars into those community people that have businesses. We're putting dollars into their pockets too. So. But anyway, good job, Lena.
One last thing is that Jeff did review the contract too. And he said it was good to go, and he reviewed that on February 23rd.
Okay, so you need us to approve it and
Yep, if it is approved, then I will just have Kathy sign it, and then I will send it off to the Minnesota DNR and then get started.
all right. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agreement with the Minnesota State Park permit.
Move.
Moved by Dave,
Second,
second by Pete. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Good job, Elena.
Woohoo, that's exciting. So
Thank you very
I hope
much.
a lot of people do use the permits and kind of get out there and start exploring all of our state parks.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
There's
'cause I
some
know
beautiful
there-
ones out there.
I know
Yeah.
one of our band members, after that, they opened up that Vermilion State Park that just north of Vermilion. One of our band members got married over at that park. And it was a really beautiful day that day, and sun was shining, and one of our band members performed the ceremony.
yep, yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure I know which
yeah.
wedding you're talking about, and that
It
it was really hot that day.
Tristan Day. He got married
Yep.
there, and then Tom Anderson was the official that
Yeah.
married them. So,
Yep, it would just open too, but it was really nice for being. I don't think it was actually like open to the public yet, but it was open. It was really nice over there.
yeah.
I just have one thing to add with Shane's comment. I just checked the 1854 book, and band members can camp in the Superior National Forest without a fee, so long as they have their 1854 card on them.
And then I think it says in there too that if it's available, right? I mean, if the time they want, whenever they request, if it's available. That's what it says in there too.
Let me see. And maybe it says it later.
Okay.
It doesn't say it in this.
Okay.
in this
Okay.
specific part that I'm looking at, but
Okay. Thank you, Randy.
you're welcome.
Well, all right. Well, that's all I had. So, but thank you guys.
Which,
Bye.
All right, next we Pam Hughes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So what I have today is the contract for the SOAR grant, which is the State Opioid Response Grant. We did receive this in the past. It wasn't something that we had applied for. It was Vern LaPlante had reached out to me, and they had some extra dollars. So he just wanted to know if Boyce Fort would be interested in receiving it. So it's a total amount of $500,000. And this is most of the activities and stuff in here, or expenses and stuff, are targeted for the Leander Roadhouse. You know, to furnish it, help pay, you know, the rent, the utilities, stuff like that. So, and then the staff, a percentage of staff.
All right. Any questions for Pam?
would this, sorry, Would this be an ongoing one, Pam, or would just one time?
It's not an ongoing one. It's because they had extra money at the, at DHS level. And this one, it ends September 29th, 2022.
Thank
And
you.
it's broke down because actually because of SAMHSA, they have two different fiscal years. So it will go from March 1st to June 30th that we have to spend $250,000. And then July 1 to September 29th is when we would spend the other $250,000.
Okay.
But hopefully, we'll get some of that opioid settlement fund. So that helps. And then also, I just received notice and it had to do with some set aside dollars that DHS had. And when it went through legislation, it was only earmarked for mental health services. But I addressed it at our American Indian Advisory Council. And so it did, they took it back. It went through the whole process and stuff. And each reservation will get $200,000 out of those set aside dollars. We will get it through 2023, and where like Melissa's program, the mental health program, they get it a longer period of time, but it helps. Everything helps.
Thank you.
All right, good job. Do you need us to approve that? Or are you just letting us know?
No, we need approval for this so that DHS can send it through DocuSign for signature, because effective date was yesterday, but it won't be effective until it's signed. So.
All right, well, with that, we'll call for a motion to approve contract for state opioid response.
Move.
Moved by Chief or Pete,
Second.
second by Dave. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Miigwech.
Opposed,
Thank you,
Good job,
Pam.
Pam.
motion carried.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Pam.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Next, we have Jalen.
I'll step out for a moment. I'll be right back.
No,
Hey.
there to the- close the door, Chief. We don't need to see that.
Morning.
Morning, Jay. Waiting on Chief.
Okay.
Anyone going to the girls' basketball game tonight?
Well, the girls, huh?
Yep, their first playoff game for the season.
Who do they play?
Deer River?
Here, 6 o'clock, huh?
I believe so.
Where's it at?
At home at Northwoods.
Northwoods.
All right, Pete is back. You're on, Jay.
You're
So the first one was talking about like coming back, I guess, to the language and stuff because of the Rosetta Stone and everything that's come about. So we are planning on buying, at least we're gonna probably sign or make a Laserfiche thing for signing up. So I apologize for everyone that's tired of filling out surveys and doing Laserfiche, but it'd be an easy way for us to document, what was learned throughout this process, but also like seeing how many people are interested in learning the language. I know a lot of times when I've done past surveys, most people prefer to almost learn, at their own pace. So they want things like books, or they want things like CDs or YouTube videos, stuff like that, rather than like joining a class. And I think Rosetta Stone allows us to do that. We will have the disclaimer that like it's going to be Southwest Ojibwe dialect, so it's not everything is going to be the exact same as what you'd see here or what you'd hear around here. But the thought process behind it is that if it's a 2-year program, like there's not going to be a ton of super fluent speakers that come from this program, but it's kind of more to get like a base level, and then hopefully by then, we have gained enough interest that where we've had enough of our own documentation that we can kind of start making our own and just kind of use this Rosetta Stone as like a lily pad for our own revitalization purposes, along with some of the stuff that we're doing. And as for like just like a plan in general, we're at least gonna have we're gonna have take a step back almost to kind of reevaluate what we want to do in terms of like just kind of running around trying to, instead of throwing like programs kind of at the wall and hopefully finding one that sticks. What we want to do is this first year, like with the grants that Doris is applying for, and so there's 2 or 3 other ones that are coming up in March, but we're going to start to really look at what we've already had documented either at KBFT or through other programs. One such is a project that happened was Lake Vermilion did like an oral history project, and I think that was in 1999 or 2000. Not everybody spoke in those recordings, but there were a couple of people that did their recordings pretty much through or just in the language and had somebody translate for them. So finding stuff like that, but because that was housed over at the Minnesota Discovery Center in Chisholm. And then within the research of like the U of M, I found some recordings that somebody did up in that lake that like had like Robert Strong, and he spoke. I don't know if he told a story, but I can't remember. He's either telling a story or just like talking about his life, but he spoke in the language for probably about 15 to 20 minutes. So there's a lot of stuff like that that's out there that we just don't know about. So I think if we can, we're going to try to find all those things while also recording our own current speakers and trying to do more than just words or phrases, but like actually having like recording dialogues between people so that we can get like kind of like a real life application for a lot of this stuff. And then we're also going to have like Eileen earlier. She's going to come up and because she's doing a master's of linguistics. So there's a lot of specific things in there that she's wanting to learn about and focus on. So I think like with having her on there, we can kind of document just general conversation, but also get more like hopefully get more specific things that would help us figure out like what makes the dialect different or what. And so if and when I guess the time comes where the first language speakers aren't around anymore, hopefully we have enough documentation to make at least the best educated guess as to how you would pronounce or how you would say a certain word, phrase, or sentence. The second kind of year, and so in 2 years, that's when we'll really start to kind of create a book, create CDs or videos or have like one of the things that George has been talking a bit about with utilizing KBFT would be to create skits within the language. And so we'd have stuff with like the Boys and Girls Club or the elementary or some of the surrounding schools. Maybe we could, hopefully we can start a program where, you know, they make these skits and then they could either, we could bring them all together and make a CD or put them all on like a YouTube channel and people can access them whenever they want. So like basically the first year is going to be all planning. And so I'm going to, you know, do all the background information, try to get the language revitalization committee started again. And then the second year actually implementing that into like different programs, into different like tangible objects that we can have and pass out to our tribal employees. And then the Rosetta Stone again, you know, that hopefully that can be like a supplemental thing that we'll buy for our tribal members in order to have them kind of build a base. And then once we get going, you know, we don't actually have to start completely from scratch. And I think one of the things that will come from it too is just that like a lot of people probably know more than they think they know. And hopefully Rosetta Stone can show them that, and so that they're not as scared to come forward if they're afraid of, you know, not knowing the language or not, or feeling kind of, you know, whatever shame comes from that historical trauma. So basically, I guess the main thing is that we wanted, you know, we have a plan in place, but also wanted to like let the council know and then let the band members know that watch the tribal council videos that we're going to be buying the Rosetta Stone for people. We'll have like a place where they can sign up for that. And I don't know if we'll have a limit on it, but we just want to see how many people are interested in learning the language, at least at this moment, because the Rosetta Stone is for 2 years. You know, it's the 2-year program or whatever. So is there any questions about this topic?
I think that, you know, if we're going to be creating positions for this with the language and stuff, what I see is that it is usually really low. And I think we need to step outside the box and say we need to at least compensate the people that are going to be doing this. You know, I'm not saying way overboard, but something that's reasonable. You know, and we got to basically step outside the box, step outside the rules, if you will. And because if we're really serious about preserving this in the language, that's one of the things that we're going to have to do as a tribal council and say, yes, we should put this position. This is what the position is at. That's too low. Let's move the position up, the salary range. I know some people are going to like it, but you know what? We need to really do something with our language. The time that we have left and the speakers that we have left.
I agree with Shane. We need to do something. Are you talking, Jay, about pulling all the resources together? I want to say like, what I would say is like, you and Doris, Chaz had done some things that are out there. Well, I'm just trying to think of the different Karen or and the other people that have worked on these programs together and put stuff together that are still out there and that you're kind of gathering together and having it all come under like one specific learning opportunity, I guess.
Yes.
Yep. So that's kind of like what the grant that she's applying for now. We were kind of working together to talk about like what this position would do, and basically like they would go to all these different organizations like the Discovery Center or the St. Louis Historical Society, all the different academic like universities and stuff, and even some, you know, like the community colleges probably have some around here too, but basically compiling all this data and see if we could like bring it all into one central location, so that as we're moving forward with like the revitalization of the language, we know what, is either been documented, what's been covered, and using that to like help us learn how to speak, but also like having that available for the public to go and watch and listen.
Good, Miigwech, thank you. Appreciate all your work you're putting into this.
Okay. So if we're good on that, the next thing that I had was the contract for the use of fructory right interviews. This was the same thing that I brought up on the last tribal council meeting. I was able to have contact with Miranda to see if it should be like a term employment or just a regular contract. So it's just going to be a contract, and the way that these things are going to work is that it's going to be like monthly. And so each month it's going to be kind of like a different topic that we're going to be recording and going about it. We can kind of go back to it, but this first one will be like use of fructory rights, just in general. And so like so we just want to know, what people are doing out there. So if they're fishing all over the place, all over the state, that's something that is important to us. If they're berry picking or medicine picking, you don't have to necessarily disclose this information, where you're going, but just like what you're doing, so that we know like what plants and what trees and stuff like that, all the medicinal purposes, I guess, of those things could be used for. And that stuff doesn't have to be disclosed, but each contract, it's like $75 per interview that you do with somebody. So you can go up to 8. So you could ask like, we can ask, say if I sign the contract, I could do an interview with, each of the tribal council members, and then I would get, $75 for each of these interviews that I do. But then each interviewee, every time you get interviewed, that's $100. And so both parties are going to be getting paid. The Heritage Center is going to be buying Bugidji gun to give for the knowledge that's being shared with us. And then what it's going to be used for is basically to protect like our use of fructory rights, not only within the reservation, but across the rest of the state. And even, if that goes into Wisconsin. So it doesn't have to be just like people on the reservation that are doing these contracts. I'd actually like to get some people down to like the urban offices. I did leave I left like a microphone down for Jackie to use, and then like they could use that to just record those conversations and stuff like that. And then the Heritage Center is going to be providing pretty much all of the recording equipment needed. We just kind of want like the data to be shared with us, so that we can kind of use that in part of the TIPO duties. And like for like the previous experience and the kind of like the resumes and stuff, basically what I realize and I understand is that like I don't, obviously I don't know everybody on like a good enough basis for you to disclose like your berry picking spots, but your son or your cousin or whoever you bring out there, like those people do have that relationship with you. So like that's where that experience really comes from, is just like having that relationship already built, so that you feel comfortable, that people feel comfortable enough, disclosing what they do, and possibly like where they do those activities. And once we get a better understanding of where our members are going currently, we can have more of a say, but also protect our rights a little bit better. So if like people are taking advantage of the state parks, that's something that we would like to document, because even like the path out there, you might stop on the road to take a picture of a river, or you might stop there and just talk about like, share a family story or camp out or whatever. And I think those places are important to be documented as well.
There's
there
a question from Eddie. And he said, we need to try to keep the Bois Forte dialect, which includes that dialect that comes from Lacroix, Northwest Bay, Seine River. A lot of our dialect has come from those areas. I mean, I know either Shane or you could probably answer that. I mean, and that's one of the questions.
Yeah, like we do, because we have like such close familial ties with like Lacroix. A lot of our like language becomes similar to that. I do think like, and like I said, like we're hopefully trying to just record and like document the language of what we have currently here, but then go back and like find what we have. I think like the Rosetta Stone is just kind of, like I said, like just like a stepping stool to like bring it in, and set kind of like a base for us to kind of work off of. Like the easiest example for me is like the way people say like Namatabin down there. They say Namadabi, and so it just sounds different. Namadabi versus Namatabin. The word itself isn't too different in its spelling, but the way it's pronounced is a little bit different. And so like if you learn Namadabi, me personally, I don't think it'd be too hard to work into it where it's a habit to say Namatabin. What another thing too is like, most people down there say like Wisani, for like he or she's eating, but ours is Wisanin, right? So it just has like the additional N to it, off the bat. And they do say Wisanin if it's a command for one person to eat. It's like you're telling your kid that Wisanin. But for here, from what I've noticed is we say Wisanin, like and you conjugate that with the N on there still. So it's little things like that, but they do make a difference. So I think like it, we will try to keep the Bois Forte dialect, and also try to build our base from what resources are available.
I think, like you said, you're getting a base going right now, and eventually we could, after this, whatever happens with COVID, that's really tough right now, especially with people coming across and us going over. It's kind of it's not so good, but eventually maybe we can get some of the first speakers from up there to come down and to work with our people, and to maybe help set up and to put them on our into tapes and recordings. I know some of the older people don't really care to have their recorded, but maybe they're willing now at this time in where we're at culturally and specifically, that they can come in and work with us and give us some help from across the border, because it would be right. It does make sense to have them come over. We're cousins, we're cousins to a lot of the.
I think kind of what Jalen was talking about. Somebody out there. Hear me now? Kind of go off what Jalen was talking about, how we talked about what was that word? Anomadubi? When we try to say Namatabin. And like when we say fog or foggy, we say a one. And I can't remember which tribe it is, but they say one. They drop the A, they just say one. And so the words are kind of this almost similar, but they're actually different, because if you're trying to talk to, let's say, our ancestors, and you say Namadabi to them, they're going to be looking at us like they don't know what we're saying. So I think that's why we need to try and keep as much as the Bois Forte dialect as possible. But also encourage people to learn as much as possible. to speak it, because because the ultimate goal of the boarding school was basically to annihilate us as people. Whether they take the language out of us, the culture, the traditions out of us, basically to become assimilated. And we're on the verge of becoming assimilated because we're almost losing our language. Actually, I should say the language is almost losing us. And we got to do everything we can to hang on to it and get back to it. Neil, you got you.
Yeah, so I did see what Linda said too about people dropping from Miigwech to Meigs. That's something I noticed too. And we have something like that too here. And I don't know if it's just what. So Karen drops like a Sema to Sema, and then from Gisana to Sina for a Sema is tobacco. Gisana is cold. It is cold outside. She drops it to Sina, and we're trying to figure out right now, like if it's just her that does that or if that's like the way it was said here. Because the way I remember, like, Gian saying it was Gisana, but that could also just be like between family to family type of thing. And like even just being from Sugar Bush to Net Lake, that could be like a little bit of a difference there. Any other comments or questions?
I do think you're right, Jay. I think the language varies from we formed together to be a band. We were brought in, all our different little bands were brought in to be Boys Fort band. When in reality it used to be like a Camp Togama people up there, Vermilion over here, Sugar Bush over there. All these different areas were brought together, were pulled in together, and were formed the Boys Fort band, which I do believe there would be a little bit of different dialect between each individual band versus, and then as we got together, the bands began to communicate using the same words together, but then it excluded like the other bands that were, the other part of our bands that were out there, like White Earth, all the, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we just kind of put it together, we got together, we kind of changed it to meet the needs that were happening at the time.
Yeah, I think for me at least, the dialect is important to have documented and to learn the differences. But I'd also say that like just starting to speak is one of the tougher things to do, and hopefully that can come from the Rosetta Stone or the projects that we're gonna have coming up here in the future.
I also believe too that the Rosetta Stone is just going to be an option. It's not going to be the main thing that we're going to push. It's an option for people to try. If they don't like it, they don't like it. They'll rather, if you want to hear it from a in-your-face teacher, that's the way I am. I'd rather go spend some time with somebody that speaks than sit there and listen to a tape.
Yeah. So is
Jay, I know that like we said, we've got about 6 or 7 maybe very fluent speakers left, and when they're starting to get there and up there in age, and they're experiencing some maybe experiencing some health problems, and is there any way that we could put something out there? Because I know there's a lot of baby elders, what we call baby elders, ones that are just turning 55 into the 70-year-old range, and then plus like I said, our older elders are in their 80s to into maybe even early 90s. And I know we have some of those. Is there any way that we could ask some of our baby elders, like like Toodles and Doris and I'm just trying to think of some names off the top of my head here, but could we utilize those baby elders to start learning and get that help from those ones to try help the younger generation. And I know that we need people to step up and step forward to assist and help out with so we don't lose our culture and our language. And like I said, we just lost a very good person in Gene, and again, we if there's any way that we could, maybe if we could reach out to our baby elders and have them, see if they'd be willing to step up and participate and help out with those teachings from those fluent elders that we still have. Anybody can do it, but if we could have them, the baby elders step up and give us some assistance, because the baby elders are starting to get to that age where now they're retiring and they're cutting back from the workforce and wanting to take it easy in life. And so if there's anything that we could work out with some of them coming to help us and with our teachings here, I think maybe that would, I'm not sure if that'd be a good idea or what the rest you guys would think about that, but that's just maybe a thought or maybe something that we could ask the baby elders and see if they'd be willing to step up and help us.
Yeah, I think we're trying it, and there's something called they're called passive first language speakers, so they can't actually speak the language, but they hear it and understand it. And I think, but they hear it as like a first language. They can understand what everything means as a first language speaker. So there is possibilities for us to do that, and that's kind of when people had somebody talking basically when they were a kid and they heard it all, and so they understand what's being said, but they can't speak it. You can basically almost give them an example sentence if you're trying to figure out something, and they can tell you if it sounds right or if it sounds wrong. So I guess a quick way to think about it is so when you hear Yoda speak, it's backwards, but you still understand what he's trying to say. That might be how they hear it if you're saying it wrong. And so they might be able to be oh, well, that doesn't sound right. And then you can just kind of keep trying until you get it where it sounds good. The other way too is just that like I said, people know probably a lot more than they think that they know, but for whatever reason they don't want to either come forward or they don't think that they have much to give. But example of this too would be my grandma Wendy Morrison Thompson. We were talking the other day and she was talking about G-Skay, and I was like, well, that sounds, I didn't, until I came back up here, I didn't really know what G-Skay or G-Scan, what that was. But it's just something that she's heard so many times in her life that she just knows what it is. And I think not a lot of people would know some of those words that are similar to that. But those that would be important to get back and have the baby elders come forward and talk about that information that they know. And more than just language, with culture.
The ceremonies,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think sometimes we forget, my boys are in their 20s. The second litter's in their 20s. The first litter's in their 30s. But anyway, my younger boys, they wonder about things, and they ask questions like, Dad, what's the sage for? Small, simple things. What's the tobacco? Why did it put tobacco out? And I, as a parent growing up, I personally never taught my kids. There's rationale and there's reasoning behind why, but the stuff I remember, I practice, but I didn't make my kids learn. And that was wrong of me and my part as a parent, because my kids are Anishinaabe, they're and I should have taught them to live a more traditional way of life rather than a non-traditional. Like I said, I can get into the reasons behind that. And real quick version is, as my dad said one time when I was a kid growing up, my father said, this is the world we're living in now. I was watching my uncles do the ceremony and what do you call it? The shaking tent. I was watching them do that. And my dad said, don't worry, don't pay attention to that. He said, that's not the world we're living in today. The world we're living in today is out there. And he pointed towards like Virginia. And he said, this is the world we're living in. He said, you have to learn to live in that world, not that world. That's pretty harsh coming from a parent. And I think that in my mind and my way of living, I kind of adapted that to my boys, to kind of, hey, you know what? The world's out there Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. That's where you got to go. You got to learn to pay your bills. You got to learn to pay your work. You've got to learn to do all this other stuff. You got to learn, get an education. You've got to get out there and you've got to do your stuff. And it hurt my kids and my family as a whole to do what I did with my kids. I'm changing it slowly. Today, as I get older, I'm teaching my boys what age is for, what my pipe is for, what just to pray, just give thanks, to live a life. I'm sad to say my son can speak more of the language that I can, my youngest, because he's in school down in Duluth or he goes to, he takes the courses down in Duluth. He can't understand the way I can, but he can speak more. Just because we grew up in different places and times. I'm one of them people like what you were talking about earlier, where I grew up around wooden frogs and around bonies, and they spoke the language. And I remember the words, salt, pepper, soup, my aunt's rabbit, all these words that my aunts and uncles would talk about while they were in their house, kitchen ceremonies. I can remember the words. When I hear the words, I can remember the words. But to speak them, I don't want to sound like, I don't know how to say that. Like, I don't want to sound stupid when I say them, because that's the way I would feel if I said them and I messed it up. But to hear the words and stuff, there is a lot of people I understand what you're saying that can understand the words. And my son is a lot better shape than I am because he learned how to speak the words in Duluth at the college from the teachers. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
All right, with that, we'll, you need us to approve contracts for your workers? Jay?
We don't have any contract with people right now, but I would like to approve the, notion that we can sign contracts with people.
So you'll have a contract written up then, and
Yeah. So yeah, and that was already looked at, through Jeff and through Miranda.
oh, all right.
When they sign them, we'll just send them up to you guys.
So you just need us to approve the permission?
Yeah, basically.
Do you need a motion or something for that?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, a motion to give Jay permission to have individual contracts for some workers to perform the usufructuary rights interviews.
Move.
Second,
By Dave, second by Pete. All in favor, say aye.
Hey,
Opposed, silent, motion carried. All right, what do you got next, Jay?
The last is these 3 bids for replacing like the HVAC. It's been a long process on trying to get this stuff figured out. But we have a grant from IRRB and the amount of $20,000 to put towards this. And then the rest is supposed to go on some of the ARPA funding.
Okay.
So we have 3 bids. One is at $86,160 from Ewell, $86,173, and then A1 refrigeration for $83,280. Basically, like what we're gonna have them do is replace the whole outside unit and then the evaporator coil inside. What happens a lot of times is basically that the HVAC doesn't really work too well during the summertime. So sometimes it, like, even for some reason, I'll take the hot air from outside and then suck it all in, do all like the machinery and stuff, and then blow out hotter air on the inside. And so at one point last year, when I felt kind of bad for our summer youth workers, because it was like 84 degrees outside, but then our vents were blowing at like 94, 95 degrees on the inside. So it's pretty hot. But yeah, so we're gonna get this fixed here as soon as we can pick, I guess, which company to go through. We can order out the equipment and get going.
So are you saying you want to go with the low bid?
I would be okay with Ewell or A1 Refrigeration. Those 2 are pretty good companies. I guess, A1 Refrigeration seems like they have the lowest bid, but also they're gonna take care of everything we need in terms of the project.
Okay,
No.
so you want A1?
Yeah, that would work.
All right, I'll call for a motion to approve A1 refrigeration of Hibbing to the HVAC replacing air handling unit.
I'll move.
Moved by Pete.
Second.
Second by Dave. All in favor, say aye.
hey,
Jay, on the,
Aye. Motion approved.
okay. Jay, on other note for that, that'll help preserve our, all our stuff we have in there, right?
Yeah, there's a couple other things we need to do, but in order to help out, but it will maintain like humidity and the temperature within like the artifacts room. For the most part, some of the stuff, such as like the materials and like the regalia and stuff that we have, the moccasins, and what's it called? The metal objects that we have in there. And those don't need to be regulated as much, but say something like birch bark, like some of the scrolls or some of the other baskets and stuff that we have, those do get affected by how much humidity can get in there versus. So if we can regulate that a lot more, then it would help preserve those objects longer
All right. Any other comments? If not, I think we're move on to Robbie.
Thanks.
And he's not here.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
Jay,
Oh, with no Robbie, then we'll adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Moved by Shane,
second.
second by Pete. All in favor, say aye.
all right,
Aye. I guess now I had a question. Executive session, is that a new, are they gonna send something else new out for that? A new link or,
They should, yeah.
okay,
All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. We are adjourned.
just gonna take a little break with Laker.
Let's all have a smoke with Chief.
Hey,
Either one, then.
You go
like
on,
his house, we're gonna send the fire department over there.
man.
10 minutes?
10 minutes?
10-minute break?
Yeah,
All righty.
Or whenever
we're just gonna
we-
stay on this, or are we gonna,
I think we gotta get off and get on to a new one.
oh, okay, okay,
We'll have Eddie send us.
okay. Okay.
All right.